evening, everyone, and thank you for being here this evening. This is a very important project and one that was started on the last Board of Supervisors by Supervisor Janet Clark. And when I came into office, I jumped right on it and did everything I could to accelerate it. They're going to talk about the stats and all of the specifics, but basically, original funding was for construction in FY22, and then we were able to get it accelerated in my first year into office to FY21, so a one-year acceleration on the project. However, in June of last year, it got smart scale funding. Smart scale funding is state funding. If we get state funding on a project for a road in the county, then it quote-unquote federalizes the project, and that adds additional layers of processes and layers of inspections and approvals, and that results in a delay of the project. So this project was delayed approximately 2 years from FY21 to FY23. So that would have been the last year when we got the remainder of the funding so we could start with construction. And what we're doing now, and we have an item on tomorrow's Board of Supervisor agenda, is we're going to vote to ask the state to move that last year of funding up back to FY22. So it will hopefully end up back where we started with our county planning. But like I said, we have done everything, every step of the way to accelerate this project and also to work with residents living in the area on any concerns that they've had. And I appreciate those of you who have came up to us already tonight to thank us for that. We appreciate you. This is going to be important for Purcellville. This is going to be important for Hillsborough. This is going to be important for Round Hill. It's going to be a tremendous relief to the area to have an additional way to gain entry and exit off of Route 7 in this area. So again, this is just a project that I can't speak highly enough of. We're really excited about it. We're going to keep pushing to accelerate it as much as possible. I also want to recognize, I see the mayor of Purcellville is here, Mayor Fraser. Mayor. Mayor of Hillsborough, Mayor Roger Vance. I see Town Councilman Bledsoe from Purcellville. Am I missing any other elected officials in the room? Oh, and our Vice Mayor of Hillsborough, Amy Marasco Newton, I apologize, is here. Thank you for being here. Anyone else?
Vice Mayor Oberman.
Vice Mayor Oberman from Purcellville is here. Thank you for being here, Vice Mayor Oberman. Anyone else? I don't want to miss anyone. Okay, back to staff. Thank you.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give a brief description of the background, the schedule, and some of the funding. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Belcher here from Dewberry, who is the design engineer, and he's going to go through some of the technical aspects of the project. So a little bit of history. In June of 2013, there was a citizens public information meeting held concerning this project, where you folks were presented with two options. Basically, one was at the 690 overpass, and the second one was down at Tranquility Road, which is slightly to the west there, and what I can see off the drawing. But nonetheless, due to public comment, the response was pretty much overwhelming that the 690 area was going to be the preferred option, at which time then in December of 2013, the Board of Supervisors voted to endorse the Route 690 location as the proposed interchange area. After that endorsement, we went ahead and contracted Dewberry to go ahead and perform the interchange justification report, which is basically the approval from VDOT to allow the interchange to move forward. That was approved in June of 2015. And as Supervisor Buffington said, then in June of 2017, basically we were told that this project would receive smart scale funding, which is basically federal funding put forth by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. So as part of the federal funding process, Loudoun County is required to go through the NEPA process with the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. So this meeting this evening is actually the location and design public hearings associated with the NEPA process, again, in which the citizens and the public is allowed to comment, again, using this form, on the various aspects of the project. These comments will be basically written into the record. They'll become part of the NEPA document, and then that will be sent into the VDOT NOVA district for approval. Currently, we hope to have that NEPA document approved by around mid-August. At that point, then we'll move forward to final design, and we hope to have that completed by September 2019. At that point, then we would have right-of-way and utility relocation, get ready for construction, which as of right now is slated for July 2022, unless, as Supervisor Buffington said, we're going to write a letter to the Commonwealth Transportation Board asking them to move funding up to FY 2022, in which case then construction can start as early as July 2021. So the total value of the smart scale funding is $9.5 million for a total budget of $40.7 million for the project in total. At this point then, I'd like to turn it over to Belcher from Dewberry.
Thanks, Greg. So in addition to myself, there are other Dewberry staff members here who are available to answer your questions. We have Eric Dole, we have Maureen Caraballo, Steve Kuntz, Spencer Davis, and Beth Patrizzi. And they're all wearing name tags, so after this presentation, if you have any more questions, feel free to go back to the boards or talk to one of the representatives to answer your questions. So, as Greg said, the first order project, we are building a grade separating interchange at the existing overpass of Route 690 over the Leesburg bypass. Currently between the 287 exit and the Business 7 exit, which is around here, it's a distance of roughly about 5 miles. So by adding this interchange, that would roughly cut it in half, so we're roughly somewhere between 2 to 2.5 miles. Introducing another point of access. We're building, it's a diamond interchange, so there are ramps, two ramps to go from Route 7 onto 690, and 2 ramps to come from 690 onto Route 7. As part of the project, we are also doing associated widening for the turn lanes, the acceleration, deceleration lanes off of Route 7. We are, excuse me, let me see. I apologize. I can point the board a little bit better now. So we are, for 3 of the ramps, we are widening to the outside. So here's the existing 2-lane section, widening to the outside on 3 of the ramps. However, on the southwestern side, the eastbound ramp onto 690, we'd be actually widening to the inside. And the reason for that is there's an existing wetland mitigation area that was constructed as part of the original bypass. And so in order to stay out of that wetland mitigation area, the widening in this quadrant is actually to the inside. So there's a 720-foot transition to shift the travel lanes over 12 feet, and then we'd be using the space that's currently the right travel lane today, that would be converted into the deceleration lane for the ramp. As part of this project, there will be 3 bridge improvements. We'll be widening to the outside for the westbound bridge over South Fork Kentucky Creek. We will widen to the inside for the eastbound Route 7 bridge over South Fork Kentucky Creek. For the existing overpass of 690 over Kentucky Bypass, the county staff and VDOT staff, we've looked extensively in terms of what to do about the existing bridge. Two of the considerations that kind of went to our decision is the existing bridge as it stands today is a 16-foot, 4-inch clearance at the lowest point of the westbound lanes, which is acceptable for federal standards, but not acceptable for VDOT standards. But then in addition, we took some pavement pours of the existing pavement along Route 7, and by looking at the existing pavement section and then using the projected traffic based on the current growth patterns, it was found that when this pavement that was installed was not sufficient to handle the projected traffic volume. So we would have to add 7.5 inches of asphalt on top of the westbound lanes and 3.5 inches on top of the eastbound lanes. So with that, in addition to adding that 7.5 inches, that would further eat into the vertical clearance. So obviously it became apparent that we would either need to demolish Route 7 and lower it, or demolish the existing bridge and raise it in order to get the proper clearance that was required. And so we went through that exercise, and it was determined that it was more effective to demolish the bridge, but with the new bridge is actually a smaller footprint. But even though it's a smaller footprint, it does accommodate a future 6-lane widening, should that be occur in the future. But by reducing that footprint to just the 6-lane section and using MSE walls, we were able to come up with a cost that's roughly equivalent for either option. So obviously, the choice was to go with the new bridge because rather than trying to rehab the existing bridge and get to those long-term maintenance costs. So plans to, like I said, and I believe I had this question, someone asked this earlier. Right now, the current thinking, right now we're at preliminary design, so we haven't really gotten to the fine details. But the current thinking from a maintenance and traffic standpoint would be to build a sufficient bridge width over to one side, more likely the east side, so then you can shift the traffic onto the new bridge while you then demolish the old bridge and then finish the rest of the bridge, because the new bridge is significantly wider than the existing bridge. We are in the process of taking a look at a warrant study in terms of traffic to determine when a signal is warranted for the northern intersection and the other intersections. Because obviously the heavy movements are in the morning coming north and going eastbound, and then in the afternoon coming west on 7 and making the left turn to go into town. So we are in the process of performing warrant studies to see, we have a good feeling that in the future years that a signal is warranted at this intersection. And so it's just a matter of the timing in terms of opening year and seeing where the traffic is in the opening year and determine whether a signal is warranted at that point. But regardless of whether the signal is there at opening year or later, this will be set up to accommodate the future lanes and the future signals. And also shown on the exhibit are the potential needs for right-of-way. The right-of-way needs at this stage are shown as thick red lines. And then potential easements that are shown in the green lines. So those are on both of the exhibits, and also we have a set of preliminary plans on the back table that are zoomed in at 25 scale, so if you want to see a little more in detail, you can take a look at those also. But right now, as I said, we're currently at preliminary design, so we don't know specifically where those lines are, but it's a conservative estimate. And also we've shown on here potential locations of where we think of stormwater management facilities. These are ponds to control stormwater for quality and quantity, et cetera. So these are our look at where we, at this moment, anticipate where those facilities would be. So in terms of right-of-way, we have Joe Kuna from Loudoun County. So Joe Kuna is the right-of-way agent. So if you have right-of-way questions, please feel free to ask Joe. We also have a pamphlet in terms of discussing the right-of-way process and your rights in terms of the whole the process. So like I said, if you talk to Joe, we have the right-of-way pamphlet available if you have any questions about the right-of-way process, how right-of-way is acquired, and et cetera. And so I guess with that, turn back over to you.
I do have another little update I want to give while we have you all here, because I know that the existing Route 7, Route 287 interchange is of importance to all of you. Whether you use it or not, it's still going to be important to all of you. So I wanted to provide a little bit of information, and the most updated information on a new project that my first year in office, we were able to get a new project for future improvements to that interchange, funded with $11 million, which was initially in FY22. My next year in office, we were able to get that accelerated by 1 year to FY21. And then last year, in June of 17, we actually got 11.3 or almost $0.4 million in smart scale state funding for that project. So again, that delayed it, just like on this project, but it also fully funded it. Until a project is fully funded, it's not fully funded, and you can't do anything. So the good news is it's fully funded, but that delayed it to FY22 and 23. However, we asked them to move some of the money forward to FY19, which starts on July 1st, and they did do that. So we're getting $2 million moved forward to FY19 so that we can start on the design work for the Route 7, the existing Route 7, Route 287 interchange. So I thought while I had you all here, that's one more update we could give you that I think you'll appreciate. What's next here?
We're just going to disband to the boards and answer any questions.
Anything else? I'll turn it back over to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So when you came in, inside your handout, there's a comment form. There are several ways to leave comments. One is you can fill out the comment form. We have a box where if you have your comment ready, you can drop it in the box. Also, as Greg pointed out, you can send it by mail or electronic. We also have a reporter here who's been reporting everything that's been said so far. If you have comments that you would like to verbally give to the record in that manner, then you can go to the reporter and do that. So there are several different ways for you to get your feedback. We appreciate your feedback. as Greg said, we're at this point because of your feedback in the past. And so as we move forward, we want to make sure that we are hearing your concerns and capturing that for the record as we move forward.
Can you answer questions now? We were